I'm Judy Stiles. Thank you for joining us on Newsmakers. Well, summer is a busy time of year for area attractions, and today we're focusing on George Washington Carver National Monument, where there's a lot happening and a lot still to happen. Joining me, I'd like to introduce the Superintendent, Jim Heaney, Kim Males with the Carver Birthplace Association, and Chalise Cooper with the Emancipation Park Days. Thank you all for being here today.
Well, thank you for the invitation.
And I guess, Jim, I said it's been a busy time. Is that a correct statement for the monument this year?
Oh, absolutely. We have a very robust agenda of public programming. We have a few projects going on, rehabbing our picnic area. So it's been a very exciting year and a successful one so far. So far, visitation's up about 15%.
Great. And
which we're thrilled about.
And that's not just the special events, it's just the daily visitors, people stopping and seeing.
That's correct.
Great. Well, we're going to talk in this next half hour about some of the programs that are going on and tying a lot of things together. I know you just had a successful Carver Day, but when you look at your schedule, there's a lot of things that are happening. And Chalise, I guess you have the next event kind of coming up with Emancipation Park Days, and that has a tie to the Carver Monument as well.
Yes, so we volunteer, my organization volunteers at the monument, and we also have worked together on different projects throughout the year, and so we actually have recently went in together with George Washington Carver Monument for a grant for our event that's coming up in August.
Great. Okay, well, we have some pictures, so while we're talking, let people visualize, and a lot of people from the Joplin area are probably familiar about hearing about it, but it's always nice to have the pictures to show what you're talking about. So the event's the first part of August then?
Yes, it's always the first weekend of August. The actual date for the event is August 4th, but this year it is August 2nd through 4th. It's the whole weekend. Okay. So we have 3 full days of events, and we have something for everyone. We have things for children every day, for adults, for women and men. We have a car show and just different things, and so it is coming up here pretty quick.
Okay, so some of the other pictures, we can see obviously the car show and the musical entertainment. So you're bringing people from around the region to help participate with this.
Yes, we always have a marching group or some kind of dance production that comes in. We've had a dance production from St. Louis come down. This year we have the Kansas City Marching Falcons that will be here. They're a group of children. They're a nonprofit as well, out of Kansas City, and they come down. They have a dance drill team and a drum line that performs, and that'll be Saturday night.
Now, one thing we didn't really talk about, the location. We saw the poster quickly at the beginning, when somebody tuned in a minute late. Where is this being held?
So our event is always held in Ewart Park. The reason for that is because a very long time ago, back in 1924, Ewart Park was designated to be used by the African American community in Joplin because there was segregation going on. And so now we hold our event there, and our event is to teach about African American heritage, culture, just achievement, things like that. So we have a lot of good food and entertainment that relates to that.
So having it multiple days has really expanded the possibilities of what you can do.
It has. It actually used to be a week-long event a long time ago, but now of course today people have to work.
They're busy. They're busy. Their way all
yes.
week, right?
Yes.
You have a pretty packed weekend now. You have a lot going on.
We have a very full weekend. We always start off with gospel night Friday night, and this year we have a band coming from Memphis, Reverend Wilkins. So we're really excited about that. He has actually performed at Carver Day.
Yeah, he's an old friend.
Yes, and so they will be here, and then we have a bounce night for the kids that night. Saturday it's packed. We have car show, like I said, and we have a kids fest and health and safety fair. After that, we do have a little break in there. Let people go home, kind of shower off.
It'll be kind of warm that time.
Yes, it's kind of hot. And then when you come back, we will have things for the kids. We will also have live entertainment. We'll have O.C. Fisher, and she is from Arkansas, and that's a band. And then we will have a DJ later that night. And then Sunday we end with church in the park and a free swim for the kids.
So a lot of things family oriented. It sounds like it's a great family event for people. And Jim, tell me about the importance of the park working together with them on this program.
Well, really, it's a natural tie. I mean, we're both promoting awareness of African American history and diversity. It's just a natural fit for us to partner together. And the Emancipation Days people have been very strong partners attending our events as well. So it's been a really good natural relationship.
Good. So it gives
Yes.
some more opportunities for people around this area for cultural opportunities.
Yes, and to get outdoors, you know, because our event is, we try to have all of the events that we have during our big event in the park.
Good.
So, you know, being part of the parks system is, it really, you know, kind of ties in, like Jim said, with the park out there at
Right.
George Washington.
So the outdoors experiment of being out there and seeing nature, perhaps interacting outside under the pavilion and so
Yes.
forth.
And in fact, a national organization that promotes the same message, the Outdoor Foundation, donated a grant to help us fund Emancipation Days.
Great, great. Well, that's the first part of August. I know you have a lot of other things coming up, and Jim, I know something that's kind of thrown in there in that month. You're looking for some feedback from people about the future of the monument.
Yes, we are. We're having some folks come in from Washington to help us revise our long-range interpretive plan.
Okay.
The plan we're working under now is a little out of date. For example, it doesn't have anything in it about social media. And of course, social media is so important, and today we do have a very robust social media program. So they will come in and kind of evaluate our present programming and maybe chart a course for improving, refining, and furthering our program to keep up with the 21st century.
Right. So as technology changes, as the
Exactly.
public changes, the demographics, you have to be able to adapt to that.
Exactly. So we're contacting a lot of our stakeholders to ask them to come out to the park and meet with the staff from Washington and express their views about our programming, what they'd like to see changed. And the date for that is August 13th from 4 to 7.
Okay. Is it kind of a come and go event?
It's a come and go event.
Okay.
People are not expected to stay for the whole 3 hours.
Okay. So provide feedback if they'd like to have some input on what they see for the
Exactly,
future
and of course
the dreams.
Kim and Chalise, you're both invited to that.
Well, I know, Kim, you're involved in a project that's been taking some time, and we're talking about things that are ongoing. People have heard about the schoolhouse project.
Yes, I'm the chair of the Carver Birthplace Association, which is the Friends group for the monument. We were founded the same year as the park and have been associated with the park since that time. And our day-to-day involvement is to run the gift shop and to turn the proceeds over to the park to supplement funds for such things as Carver Day and Prairie Day. But in addition to that, a few years ago, a local bank repossessed a property in Neosho that was discovered to be the site of the 1872 Neosho Colored School where George Washington Carver attended, the first school he attended. When he was about 12 years old, he wanted an education so badly that, that the local schools would not accept him. And he heard about this school for black children in Neosho, and he left home, walked to Neosho, and attended there for about 1.5 years. It was his first educational experience. And the Carver Birthplace Association took ownership of the property, and little by little over the past few years we've been working hard to rehabilitate it, restore it, and make it available to the public to tell that story.
Great. Now I know we have some pictures to go along with that as well, so if they can call up some of the pictures. And you know, looking at the historical perspective, when we say schoolhouse, it definitely has that look of 100+ years
It
ago.
does, and we've made some progress since then. The photo just previous to this one, on the left, was a drawing that Carver himself did late in life when someone asked him to describe his first school, and he drew that drawing. And we've set it beside where we stand roughly now in our restoration to show that we have begun to approach what he remembered as his first
Pretty
school.
accurate in his
Pretty
depiction
accurate.
of it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it took some heavy equipment. It wasn't just a matter of rebuilding.
The building was in very bad shape. The only thing that preserved it, it had been a rental house for over 100 years. And we moved it to the back of the property, picked it up, moved it, built a new foundation, brought it back. That's what it looked like as we were tearing the old rental house off of it.
Okay, so someone had basically covered up
Someone
the
had
schoolhouse
tacked
with siding.
onto it, added a back porch and a kitchen and what have you. The building itself is 16 by 24, and so we removed everything that wasn't original, and we're back to the original schoolhouse now. That's tearing the back off the old rental house as we began to demolish things so we could begin restoration.
That's the first step, is get it back to where it should be. It's right.
And we had 36 volunteers from 10 different states came in over a 3-week period and did the demolition. and prepared. And since that time, we have been, as the Carver Birthplace Association, continuing the project. And we now have a foundation. We have a new roof on the building, and we're getting the windows and doors are almost constructed. They'll be installed in the next week or so. And then after we finish the outside, then we can begin working on the inside. There were dozens and dozens, in fact a few hundred students. This school was operational from 1872 to 1891.
Wow.
And Carver was there from approximately 1874 to 1876. And so we're going to return it to the look and the purpose when he went to school there. And then the National Park Service already does and will intensify their efforts to send rangers down for interpretive programs.
It's a wonderful resource.
Right. You've got the whole story there of his early days of living in the area.
Absolutely. And when you think about it, there's not too many structures still standing associated with Carver. We don't have many on the park.
And there aren't many schoolhouses of the Reconstruction era for black children still remaining. This is one of the few in the United States.
And I know this has been a feature on the public broadcasting stations. You've had some special attention beyond just the region. It's nationally been focused on this.
Yes, it has.
And each year we have a dinner in September at colleges and universities around America associated with Carver. And that's our major fundraiser for this project. And we've had them in St. Louis, at Iowa State, Kansas State, Tuskegee University. Each year we have a fundraiser at all over the United States for this project.
So it's being national attention on what's happening and following up. So your outside is basically restoring it, preserving it, so then you're going to, on the inside, will you restore it to look what the classroom may have looked at for
We want it to be exactly like it was the day Carver arrived. And our goal is for all public to be involved and take it as a resource for history, but also particularly for school children. We look forward to having school field trips, and my wife is a retired public school teacher, and she said, I would love to have brought my children down there and set them in the seats where George Washington Carver studied for lessons on history, diversity, and racial tolerance, and so that's our goal. We plan to have it ready before then, but we definitely want to have the project complete by 2022, which will be the 150th anniversary of the opening of the school.
Right. And I know, Chalise, earlier you mentioned family activities at Emancipation Park Days. This sounds like it would be a great event for families to attend, when you talk about educating and working with children. Yes,
most definitely. And, it all ties together, kind of like Jim said. Our celebration began as celebrating the freeing of the first slaves in this area. And it's similar to other areas' Juneteenth celebrations, but ours happens in August. We're researching it, but it did take some time for word to get here that the slaves were free.
Right, slow communication.
Yes, very slow at that time. And then now what we've done is we are trying to teach about that time. So whenever the celebration began, it was for the African American community to celebrate. But now we're wanting to teach about that, and we want the children to come out and to learn about that, because that's what's going to carry this on. And so it kind of ties into that, where we're wanting to educate about the history of, that time period and a long time ago, and then let the kids know why we're doing this and what it's for.
Well, and coming up soon in the next couple of weeks, there's going to be a seminar at the monument for educators on the Reconstruction era.
So that's another way to have the teachers have the information to bring back to the classrooms.
Exactly. And I think some of your professors might be attending.
And that education being an important aspect. I know the monument, you have so many hands-on activities for children when they go out there. It's more than just, let's look at a display.
Well, two of our kind of standard curriculum-based activities are the science activity. We have a lab that is kind of roughly based on Tuskegee. Carver's lab at Tuskegee, and the kids can do scientific experiments that are Carver related. For example, making peanut milk, which was one of Carver's 300 uses for the peanut. And we also have another classroom which is modeled after a 19th century schoolhouse, similar to the Neosho schoolhouse, where the kids can go in and get a lesson, a 19th century lesson that would have been similar to the education that Carver received.
Right. So learning by doing.
Exactly.
Important for children.
Exactly.
Right. Well, sharing and stories is another aspect. I know you have storytelling days in August, and
Yes,
we have some
we
pictures
do.
to go with this as well. And that's something that sharing. People are sharing their stories. So tell me what we have.
Yes, this program, this event began a couple years ago as a way of celebrating the National Park Service Centennial. And we have storytellers come in to share very unique, very diverse American stories. You just saw a couple of pictures from previous years. That first one was Harriet Tubman. The second one was, there we go, that's Harriet Tubman, Thomas Hart Benton, the artist. And there we have Teddy Roosevelt with the staff. This year we have 6 very dynamic presenters. This is a man named Fred Blanco who is portraying Cesar Chavez. He'll be performing this year. We have a Native American storyteller, Mike, let me make sure I get his name right, Mike Passetapal. He's been at the park before, tremendous Native American storyteller. We are thrilled to have this lady. Her name is, she's from St. Louis, Rebecca Now, and she portrays Elizabeth Cady Stanton.
Wow. So you're getting
an
some
early
important lessons of
feminist.
history from people reenacting what it would have been like.
Exactly. And I'm so excited to see Ms. Nell portraying Elizabeth Cady Stanton, because next year, of course, is the anniversary of the 20th Amendment. So we're excited to hear Elizabeth Cady Stanton's point of view.
Now the dates of that are August 22nd, or 23rd and 24th? They're coming up
The 23rd and 24th. The 23rd, Friday night, from 6 to 8. And then the 24th is a Saturday, and it's basically a whole day from 10 to 3.
So sessions back to back when people come.
Exactly.
And I saw in some of the pictures you obviously have the audience. Do they interact with the audience as well?
They interact with the audience, and I just mentioned a couple of the people coming. We also have Bobby Norfolk, who's portraying Langston Hughes, who of course was born in Joplin. We have Paxton Williams returning. He is best known as being a Carver actor. In fact, he performed out at Carver for Carver Day the last couple years. But for the storytelling days, he's portraying Paul Laurence Dunbar, who was an African-American poet. So it'd be really interesting to see Paxton in a different role, especially portraying somebody like Dunbar, who was very talented, very influential, really has quite a strong literary legacy behind him.
And when people are doing the storytelling, living history type presentation, the audience can be kind of captivated as far as, you know, I'm not just listening to a lecture about somebody, but you're looking like that person. You're acting, saying the things they would say.
And there is a lot of dialogue with the audience, and it's just a very enjoyable way of learning history.
Great. And that's another aspect of the historical learning beyond just the life of George Washington Carver at the monument.
Absolutely, absolutely. And there's one more actor I wanted to mention who will be a part of Storytelling Days. And of course, you all can check out our Facebook page.
Right, you have the information with the specifics.
Exactly. He is Greg Carr, and he's going to be portraying a former slave, soldier, and political activist, James Milton Turner, who is certainly a very important Missourian.
So a lot of things you can learn by attending these events.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Carver Day, which we just had. I know we have some video of that. I'd like to roll that while we talk about it, just kind of give people a feel for what happens when we're having these events. This was in July, and you have...
It was in July. We had about 1,300 people, which is a very strong Carver Day. Carver Day celebrates not only Carver's life and achievements, but also the establishment of the park. The park was established on July 14th, 1943, the first national park dedicated to an African American. Carver Day features music. There we have a very full music tent.
So you have a variety of music too throughout the day.
Yeah, mostly African American roots music. This year we had a blues performer, King Clarence, who's kind of a legend in Springfield. We also had a gospel group, the Sensational Wonders. Out on the park grounds, you'll see a lot of exhibitors. These exhibitors, I believe, are from Wildcat Glades or Missouri Department of Conservation.
So people are able to see, and you can see by the displays, interact with the people who have the displays and hands-on.
Exactly,
as well.
hands-on, some animal pelts. So it's a wonderful event for kids.
So a lot of families attend.
Yeah, very family-oriented event.
Of course, Missouri Southern, I'm sure,
we have
tying into the
Missouri
biology
Southern.
department, or just the reptile section with the maybe the
Yeah,
the
they
snakes.
had some snakes out there, a king snake, a milk snake, a few others.
Great.
My children actually love this event. My oldest one, we've been almost every year, I think, since he's been here. He's 10, and he loves going out there to this event. It's a very fun time for everyone. I mean, adults, children, and you learn a lot, and you get to see a lot of really neat things.
And all of that's together in one location. You know, you don't have to drive to one place to another. They have all those organizations represented together.
Exactly.
It looks like the kids here are really mystified by what's in the jars, what are you holding, and tying all of that together. So you have planned programs, but there's a lot of opportunity for people to kind of come and go as well throughout the day.
Exactly. Although some people spend the whole day, we usually have the Diamond Lions run a concession stand so people can get lunch and, you know, make a day out of it. Indoors, we have the peanut milk demonstrations and some other activities for kids. We also have a room, a very large multi-purpose room, and that's where Paxton Williams portrayed Carver. We also have scholars that come. This year we had Lucy Phelps, who's a local scholar, and she talked about enslaved women in Missouri during Carver's time. We were thrilled this year to have Dana Chandler, who is the archivist and a historian down at Tuskegee University. And he brought some very rare items associated with Carver, including some very rare photographs.
So he was able to tie in his later life with what you have in his early life and bring it back to the area and tying that together.
So it's such a neat event. We have things for kids, we have things for scholars, music lovers, nature lovers. So I know it sounds trite, but it really is the type of event that appeals to everybody.
Right.
There's something for everybody at Carver Day.
And for the local people, this was a free event too.
It
That's
is a
something
free
you always
event.
have at Carver.
Yes.
Emphasize the free
All our events are free.
opportunities for anyone to attend. You're not held back because of cost. Right?
Exactly.
Tying that together.
Exactly. And we're very proud that we've been able to keep it free.
And park admission's still free as well, correct?
Yes, it is.
Right.
Yes, it
I know
is.
sometimes national parks you have to pay a few dollars to get in or something, but you're still free. People can come and visit.
And hopefully we always will be.
Maintain that along those lines. So, Carver Day, you also then, coming up in the fall, you have another big event, Prairie Day. And then
Prairie Day.
slightly different approach.
Yes, Prairie Day is by far our most popular day at the park. We usually have anywhere from 1,500 to 2,200 people. Prairie Day kind of interprets and gives people a chance to go back to Carver's time.
So it's a step back in time. I think we have some pictures that go with those as well. That we'll look at here in a minute.
Back to life on the prairie in the late 19th century. So we have a lot of historic demonstrations. For example, this gentleman here is blacksmithing.
She's spinning here.
She's spinning. We have music for Prairie Day as well. These two young ladies are the Vote Sisters from Kansas. Very popular folk act. They'll be performing kind of old style mountain music. They're so good. I love the Vote Sisters.
Popular wagon rides.
We have the wagon rides, which are very, very popular. You get a chance to go on a wagon with a group of people, with a storyteller, and go through the prairie and learn about Carver's life here.
And that's one thing
If you're interested in the wagon rides, get there early because they book out very quickly.
And then there's some banjo music and demonstrations making them, I guess, actually.
Yeah, this gentleman is making a banjo.
So that's the origination of the music. And that's something we say Prairie Days. It's part of the monument. It's more than just the building. You have the living prairie right there as well.
Exactly.
So people are able to see. When people come to visit, do you find that sometimes they're surprised? I don't know you had all this. I thought it was just going to be a building with a museum.
Yeah, A lot of people, because we're designated as a monument, people just think that they're going to come see a statue, a big statue of Carver, and leave. So they're pleased to know that there's so much that goes on at the park. The nature walks, the interpretive programs. A lot of people come out to picnic.
Right. You have a nice picnic area that you're updating now as we speak.
Yeah, exactly. We are fierce advocates of better accessibility for our visitors who may have accessibility
challenges to be able
challenges, yeah, exactly. So we have redesigned our picnic area, and it's going to be completely refurbished to make it more handicap accessible, but also to kind of open up the recreational possibilities.
Okay.
For example, there'll be picnic tables down by the creek for people to do creekside dining. Just the whole aesthetics is going to be a great improvement.
It's not a picnic table under a shade tree. It's down there by the creek where you can see the nature.
Yeah, you will see an actual design rather than picnic tables migrating all over the park, which is kind of the way it is right now.
Right. So
and I really predict that once that picnic area is completed, that's going to be one of the most popular draws for the park.
I know a lot of people just go out to take walks and the nature trail, and probably you've probably done that with children. Let's take a walk through the park and walk down that nature trail. And
yes, they love it. Like I said, my oldest son, he loves going out there, and he's not really even an outdoorsy person, but he loves going over to the monument to go on the trails, and he loves everything they have inside. As he mentioned, making peanut milk. He loves the displays. He actually took my phone and took pictures of the displays to send to his dad, and so he loves it. So yeah, it's a very fun time.
And it's a year-round activity. I mean, we're in the summertime recording this program, but people probably still come out there in the wintertime when it's cold and there's no leaves on the tree. They can still walk the trail.
Certainly.
And tie all of that together. So, and do you see, Kim, the actual schoolhouse becoming a year-round program as well, that people can come through town at any time?
I don't envision at this point the schoolhouse being manned, staffed every day, but I think it will become much more so. And our ultimate goal is to have a historic park. 2 doors down from the schoolhouse was the home of Aunt Mariah Watkins, where Carver boarded when he was a student there, and who was a very, very influential person in his life. And interestingly, a very unique historical figure. She had a big part to play in the life of Thomas Hart Benton, the artist, as well as George Washington Carver. Our ultimate goal is to someday own all of the property and have a visitor center where her home was, and also the school.
So really tell the rest of the story in many parts, tying us together. Well, there's a lot going on, and I'd like to thank the 3 of you for visiting today and sharing with our audience.
Well, thank you for this opportunity.
You're welcome.
And I also want to thank these two. We could not do what we do out at the park without partners like Chalise and supporters like the Carver Birthplace Association. Really, CBA led the grassroots effort to establish the park back in the 1940s. So without CBA, the park never would have existed.
Great. Well, thank you all very much.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
You.
And I'd like to thank you, the viewers, for joining us this week on Newsmakers. I'm Judy Stiles. Hope you can join me again next week at the same time on the station. We'll see you then.